The fighting continues overseas. 8 Israeli soldiers have been killed today in Israel's ground operation in Lebanon to battle Hezbollah militants. Meanwhile, in Gaza, Palestinian medical officials said Israeli ground and air operations killed at least 51, including women and children. The region is bracing for further escalation as Israel vows to retaliate for Iran's ballistic missile attack yesterday. The U.S. is working with them on the response plan, but leaders around the world are worried.
We are at a very dangerous point in time. Escalation after escalation. First and foremost for civilians in Gaza, Lebanon, the West Bank, Israel, and I fear beyond. This goes to the very core of what human rights is all about, for everyone, everywhere. Protection of civilians is of utmost importance, as is respect for international humanitarian law and international human rights law.
Manisa Denneballen begins our team coverage with all the developments in the Middle East. Manisa, what's the aftermath looking like today?
Nicole, lots happening today, and the focus remains on where Israel will target their retaliation. There's talk about Iran's oil production or nuclear sites being possible areas. And the other thing is, when will it happen? A warning for our viewers, images in this story are disturbing. Explosions were heard and smoke seen rising over Lebanon. Today, 8 Israeli soldiers were killed in combat in South Lebanon as its forces pushed into its northern neighbor in a campaign against the Hezbollah armed group.
I would like to send my condolences from the bottom of my heart to the families of our heroes who fell today in Lebanon. May God exact retribution for their blood. May their memory be blessed. We are in the middle of a tough war against Iran's axis of evil, which seeks to destroy us. This will not happen, because we will stand together, and with God's help we will win together.
The losses were the deadliest suffered by the Israeli military on the Lebanon front in the past year of clashes between Israel and its Iran-backed Lebanese adversary. Hezbollah said its fighters were engaging Israeli forces, reporting clashes for the first time since Israel began its ground advance. In Beirut, personal belongings could be seen amongst rubble of destroyed buildings and cars flipped over, while airstrikes continue to hit the area.
This is just one of the latest buildings struck by Israel here in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Driving in here, we saw that this part of town is a ghost town. There are very few inhabitants still left here, as more than 1 million people have fled their homes in southern Lebanon.
Today, Hezbollah fired new fusillades of rockets into Israel a day after Iran's attack against the country.
We had to go to the shelter quickly. It was quite a long time we needed to stay there. There was a lot of booms. One of them, it was terrible.
As many around the world wait for Israel's response, there are fears around how it will escalate. But Iran vows more crushing attacks should there be any retaliation. World G7 leaders are discussing repercussions for Iran. U.S. President Joe Biden adding that he does not support targeting Iranian nuclear sites.
There's going to be some sanctions imposed on Iran. We'll be discussing with the Israelis what they're going to do, but all 7 of us agree that they have a right to respond, but they should respond in proportion.
More civilians were seen leaving Lebanon after clashes and violence forced them out of their homes. Meanwhile, in Gaza, Palestinian medical officials said Israeli ground and air operations killed at least 51 people, including women and children. This video, too graphic to show, is of an infant at the Aqsa Martyrs Hospital who was treated for shrapnel wounds to the face and body after an Israeli strike on a school sheltering Palestinian displaced families. The death toll from the ongoing Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip has surpassed 41,000, and more than 96,000 have been injured, according to Gaza-based health authorities. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, nearly 2,000 people have been killed and more than 9,000 wounded in almost a year of cross-border fighting. Most of the deaths occurred in the past 2 weeks, according to the Lebanese government statistics. Nicole?